to the Into the Wilderness podcast. I'm your host, Timothy Regal. Today, joining me is Jeff Putnam. Jeff is an author, an entrepreneur, a copywriter, and a coach. He's the author of the books Empire Divided, A Modern Man's Path Back to His Tribe, and The Perimeter. He's the founder and owner of Rugged Legacy Grooming Supply Company, specializing in all-natural men's beard, hair, and grooming products. He's also a freelance copywriter and a coach, helping people improve their writing skills and make money online. Jeff's a U.S. Army veteran and the father of 9 children. Jeff, good to see you, buddy. Glad to finally have you on the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. That was a long intro.
Yeah. Oh, it's all important. You're a man of many talents, my friend. So
wait and see
Jeff,
if you're going to add that I walked on the moon.
Pretty soon, yeah, I could see you doing that. You'd have to wear the hat, though.
Oh yeah, I'd give it a shot.
So Jeff, the story arc of your life is really amazing. You and I have known each other for quite a while, but every time I hear your story and where you came from, the obstacles you've overcome in your life to get where you are today, it's a great inspiration. You have, as mentioned, you're a veteran, you founded all these companies, making all this money, you've dropped the 9-to-5, you did that all with 9 children, and you went from being homeless at one point to building all these businesses and ditching the 95. So, tell us how you did it and kind of what's your story and where you came from.
All right, well, where would you like me to start? It's a long story.
Wherever you'd like, man.
I mean, I'm born in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Dad died when I was just after I turned 6. So it's just me, my mom, my little brother. I had 3 older siblings, 2 brothers, 1 sister, and then mom remarried, had another little sister. We were living in South Carolina, where I live now at that time, and I guess it was typical 80s and 90s upbringing.
Yeah.
It's playing outside until the sun went down, riding bikes, getting lost in the woods, that kind of thing. Joined the Army when I was 17. Did that for a couple of years. Never went anywhere or did anything, but I joined. So yeah. I don't ever really use the term veteran because I was just a couple of years. But met my wife while I was still in the Army, and that was a point. It's kind of like one of those things where you just know, yeah, this is the one I'm going to spend all the rest of my life with.
Yeah.
And so 5 kids later, we decided to get married, which was fun. I was already out of the Army. We were living out west and worked just about every kind of job you could think. Most of them were blue collar, digging holes for electric companies, to put in service poles, or at one point in time, I was a licensed nursing technician, which surprised I didn't stay with that one, but you get burnt out real quick doing that kind of stuff.
I'm sure.
And then got into construction. My uncle, my mom's brother, was always handy. He was a good carpenter. He was an electrician, did some plumbing. So got into construction, ended up working with this company. We were traveling all over the Southwest, mostly Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. And it was a good job. Had a great place to live, a couple of vehicles, good money coming in. But with my wife being pregnant, I'm gone 26, 27 days a month.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to take a toll on her, especially when we already have a house full of kids.
Of course.
And so I decided to leave that job because I didn't want to get divorced. But this is post 2008, and the economy is still kind of reeling from that recession. So it's probably a stupid move to quit that job, but it was a choice, right? I mean, I can either stay on the road and let my marriage crumble and degrade, or find something else.
Right.
So I quit, left, turned in the company phone, company truck, all that other, and started looking around locally. It was a university town, and the only thing you could find there were like grocery store jobs or working in bars, restaurants, kind of stuff. I ended up finding an $8 an hour job at a butcher shop, and that was a huge price cut. And then we kind of went into this slow decline of just losing everything. And anybody that's ever gone through anything like that before knows it starts with, all right, we're gonna make some payment arrangements on these bills.
Right.
And then it's all right, well, we're gonna let the non-essentials go. So we're let go of the cable, we'll let go of the cell phone. And we're still stretching bills, trying to pay what we could, keep rent paid. And then the car is getting repoed. Then you're getting, disconnect notices on water and power and gas. You're getting last notice eviction papers, right? So eventually we just lost it all in like this slow decline. Cause I mean, I looked for jobs all the time, but you couldn't find anything. Nobody was hiring, and people that had the jobs weren't giving them up,
Right.
so there's just no place to go. So we ended up having to move into a hotel, and we did that for about 2 years. But when we moved, see, I was walking to and from the store where I was a butcher. When we moved, it was way too far to walk. So what was close enough was one of these work today, get paid today kind of places, right? And the way it works is you show up, it's this is day labor, general labor kind of jobs. And I had construction skills, so that kind of helped. But the way it worked is you had to be first in line. So I was leaving the house at like 4 a.m, walking the 3-4 miles to get there, stand in line, hope to be first. Sometimes I was like second or third. And then you sign in when they open the doors. And then as companies call, whether it's like overhead garage, the garage door company, right? Or any of the construction sites that was going on around town, they would call and be like, hey, we need like 3 guys to come and clean up. Or we need, someone to come and use shop vacs all day to get rid of all the water that flooded the construction site, like inside, like where they built apartments or like the university new dorms. And eventually I got put on a good ticket where they wanted me back. Like, hey, this guy's a good worker. We'll call him back for as long as we need him. And my job was helping with concrete demo. And the way it worked was we had a bobcat running around with one of those hydraulic jackhammers on the end, like the breaker beds. And they would take the old slab at these old construction sites where they're doing demo and bust it up into still sizable chunks. But me and my crew, we had to go in there with the sledgehammers and bust them up into small enough chunks so that they could be picked up by another bobcat in the bucket, and then they would throw it in the back of the truck. The truck would take it to the place and then dump it into a hopper and get ground up and then reused for whatever. And most of the jobs were outside. They had already demoed most of the buildings, so we're just exposed to the sun. This is West Texas, summer, winter, so it's either dry, cold, or hotter than the devil's butthole.
Right.
And did that for 2 years. The only problem was it wasn't scale pay. So scale pay means you're making what the other workers are making. I was making minimum wage. And every single day after I'd worked, I would have like somebody there at the job site would sign my hours. Then I'd have to take it back to the labor place and they would print me out a check. Check was usually for like $60 or whatever. So they would print the check and I'd walk next door to the gas station where all the other workers would take their checks and would cash it. And then I'd walk from there back to the motel. After the check cashing and maybe buying a bottle of water, I had like $56, $57. That was for one day, right?
Yeah.
So $56 a day, 5 days a week. Still minimum college, like minimum part-time job kind of,
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah.
But I'd walk back to the motel. We didn't have a cell phone. So I'd ask my wife, hey, what do we need? She would tell me, and because we had like a little 2-burner stove and a microwave in the hotel room. So I'd ask her what we needed. She'd give me a list. I'd walk to the grocery store, get everything that I could either fit in my backpack or carry on my arms, walk it back. There was a lot of ramen, a lot of canned goods.
Oh yeah.
You know.
When about was this? What kind of year to end frame?
This was 2010, 2000 through 2012.
Okay.
And then, yeah. Like I said, where we were living, it didn't have like where I live now, where you could throw a rock and hit a manufacturing job that's hiring 200 people at any given point.
Right.
No manufacturing out west, at least not where we lived. And we did that until my wife's sister came back from the Middle East. When she came back from the Middle East, moved back into the town where we were living, me and my wife, my kids, we packed up from the hotel, moved in with her, there for a little while, a couple of weeks. And my wife said, I think you maybe should try to go back to South Carolina and see about work there. That's where I'm from. And said, okay. So I took the money we had that we didn't have to spend on the hotel because we were living with my wife's sister. And she was taking me to the labor place every morning, so I was still getting paid and working. And said, all right, let's do it. Bought a plane ticket out here one way. Got out here, ended up with a buddy of mine from high school, crashed on his couch. This is 2014, no, 13 by this time. And then crossed over the new year, about 4 months after working at McDonald's, doing like, hey, I'll fix your deck or be like handyman on call thing. My buddy had a car he let me use. I put in an application to get a job at this automotive manufacturing company. What they did is they made seats for BMW, because the BMW plant down here is like, I don't know, 20 minutes away from here.
Yeah.
And they were just down the road from them. They make the seats there, ship them to the BMW plant. They throw them in a car. It took about a month of like the whole hiring process, because you had the interview, you had to do the physical, then you had to do the drug test. They had to get all the results. Finally got the job. By this time, it's June of 2014. And what I was doing in the meantime, was working, like I said, McDonald's, all these other jobs, and I'm sending money orders to my wife so she could cash them and have money. Even though she's still living with her sister, with my kids, and had a place to live, food's taken care of, but I was still sending, money home and keeping just enough for me to, buy food. So I'm not eating all of my friends' food. And I worked at that job for a couple of weeks, and it paid pretty well. And after a couple of paychecks, I had enough to find a place to rent, as well as get a plane ticket to fly back out to El Paso. Picked my wife up and the kids. Her sister bought this used 2004 Expedition. I couldn't afford insurance. I couldn't afford the registration. So I bought one of those behind the back luggage rack things that stick straight out of the trailer hitch.
Yeah.
And just piled a shit ton of luggage up and drove it from El Paso all the way back here to South Carolina.
Just
hoping that I didn't get pulled over. Just risking it. I mean, we had all our stuff on top, inside. Like the kids were like this right here, and the seats covered in stuff. Back is filled up. The back glass is filled up. It looked like the Beverly Hillbillies, right? But in an Expedition. The only thing missing was someone in a rocking chair on the roof.
There you go. Yeah. Wow.
Made it here. It's like a 22-hour drive. Now, I drove the whole way, but I'm pretty sure I slept all the way through Louisiana. And that was rough because Louisiana, everything is like especially in like summer, it's so humid. The window kept fogging up, and the defrost was not working in that freaking truck.
Yeah.
So it's like windshield wipers on, or me wiping it with my hand trying to see. I had a pregnant wife, beside me because she had
Wow.
gotten pregnant again, and finally got here. We got some hand-me-down furniture, settled in, went back to work, and I stayed at that job for 4 years. And December 2018, I got an inkling of I want to start my own business,
Hmm.
which that ended up being Rugged Legacy Grooming Supply. And so I built that in the kitchen with just like making the beard balms and oils and everything else we sell in the kitchen, ruining my wife's cookware. She was very pleased with that.
I'm sure.
And it took off, got a little bigger, started picking up traction. So we, like, all right, ended up able to hire a couple of like third-party companies to handle manufacturing and shipping. So I no longer had to make it and ship it myself. Because for about a year, I'd be at work. My wife would be checking orders and then packing them, putting shipping labels on it. And then I'd come home on my lunch break. I'd grab the box full of orders, and then I'd stop at the post office on the way back to work, throw them in the blue box, get back to work. And then she'd be packing more orders. I'd come home, pack orders. Then the next morning, I'd take all the orders we had, stop at the post office on the way to work, and then repeat it again on my lunch break. So that took a lot off of our shoulders, and we were happy. It was surprise success. But this was right after Gillette did the whole toxic masculinity ad.
Oh yeah.
So just
Yeah, I remember that.
So targeting that market of people who didn't want to ever shave again
Yeah.
was perfect. Hey, you know what? These people hate men. So grow a beard and use this to take care of it. Right?
Yeah. I was one of those guys. That's around the time I started using your products. And I found you, through Twitter, and then we had the FOE connection and everything, and I started using your stuff right away and still am.
Yeah. And, it worked. And then around 2020, COVID came along. Mid 2020, my job gave me an ultimatum: wear a mask in this 100-degree manufacturing plant where we're not allowing you to turn on fans because we think fans will spread the virus, or leave. So I called their bluff and left. And basically, they said, we'll make you wear a mask. I said, I doubt you'll make me. And Cubby Lou sent me home early that day and never went back. And I'd already had, I'd learned copywriting and marketing and sales just from running Rugged Legacy.
Right.
So I just doubled down on that and then realized I was pretty good at it because I was making me enough money to live on. So I started branching out into the whole doing it for freelancing. And then I just really went all in on myself. Like, screw this. I've got the talent to do it. I just have to grind. And what the hell? I've been grinding for the past several years. Why not?
Yes, you went in a matter of 5 or 6 years, 7 years maybe, from living in a hotel with your wife and children.
It was
to owning
right at 9 years.
Yeah, to owning your own grooming supply company and making money almost entirely online.
Yeah, but it was a long 9 years.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. What was it that that kept you going through all that time? Because so many people are content to stay stuck in that rat race, and just the living the paycheck to paycheck, and never really getting ahead, and just kind of stuck in that kind of Groundhog Day type of existence and never really doing much of anything. And they live all their lives like that. They're content to slave it away at some job for next to nothing, as long as they get to have a couple of Bud Lights on the weekend and watch some football. But you were able to use that life and those struggles, and I mean, living out a hotel with a wife and 5 or 6 kids at the time, and then living halfway across the country from your family, all to get you to the point you were today. What was it that kept you going? So to get you out of those rough areas, but also so you didn't just stay there and keep pushing you forward.
Well, when we lost everything and ended up having to move into a hotel, there's a look on my wife's face, that I'd let her and the kids down. I'd failed, right? And then one day, while we were still in the hotel, one of my kids, he said, "Daddy, if we be good, can we get our toys back?" And that's
Wow.
when it clicked for me. They didn't understand what was going on. They thought maybe they had misbehaved, and that's why they didn't have their rooms anymore. That's why they didn't have their toys anymore, because we couldn't take everything with us. And between the look on my wife's face when we lost everything and my kids thinking they were being punished because I had lost everything, it was a mix of self-loathing, because I worked so much at that work today, get paid today place, that when we finally moved back uh, into my wife's sister's house, like my entire body was basically a bruise and just torn. I was jacked, right? You're swinging
Yeah.
a sledgehammer all day. But like to this day, I still have nerve damage in my hands. Like even I lift weights all the time now, but
Yeah.
I have to tie myself to pull up bars with straps, and sometimes just dumbbells. My hands from holding those hammers. But it was, I don't know, fear, anger, self-loathing, punishing myself for screwing it all up, right? Like even now, that memory is bruised, right?
Sure.
And that's why when I got that factory job and got my family back here after several months of living across the country from them, I I just doubled down on everything, right? Like I was working 60, sometimes more hours a week just to make sure that shit never happened again. I
Right.
don't know if I cuss on your podcast.
Go for it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what it was. It was like fear, right? It was like I'm never going back. Never going back. Never gonna let that crap happen again. And yeah, the other side of it with starting a business was I don't plan on quitting my job, right? I just figured I would have like an Etsy shop kind of side business, making some extra cash, so we wouldn't. So if they offered me a day off, I could take it and not have to worry about the lights getting
Right.
cut off, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted extra money coming in. But I don't know. I said, I'll just do it. And then it took off, which was a pleasant surprise. And I guess having that little bit of momentum get started, I was like, you know what? I can do something with this. And
Sure.
I got my confidence back. Right. And so at the job, when they started throwing their weight around with the whole COVID restrictions thing, I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna be talked to like like you own me.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make me do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
remember
ended
that
up,
day vividly. I remember talking to you that day and you're like, well, I
yeah,
don't got a job. It's all on me.
yeah,
And I think that's the biggest thing. One of the things that's made you successful in this, Jeff, is that it's on me. You know, you know, you didn't make excuses. You didn't try to pass the blame all to somebody else. You didn't just sit there all day bitching and groaning about the economy and the president and all these things. You went out and did something. You went out and found a way to provide for your family, as meager as it was at the time, and kept fighting and pushing forward and got yourself into a position so that you could have this extra income. And then when it came down to push came to shove, you were at a point where you could take the leap of faith, and you had faith in yourself that you could do it. I think it's interesting to note when that day happened, when you lost your job, and I remember talking to you about it, this was before the vaccine. Because there was a whole lot of people a year later who did the same thing. But this was just over mass.
This was like 2 months into it.
Yeah.
You know, doing well. I don't know. Let's see,
it was that summer, I think.
Yeah, it was July 1st. So we're like 5 months into it. Because I think COVID didn't actually hit the news until what, February?
Yeah, February, March, something like that.
Yeah.
But
so it was like June, 4 or 5 months. June, July.
Yeah. But you had built up, like you say, built up that confidence in yourself, built things up, pulled yourself up by the bootstraps and by the sweat of your brow and the work that you did online, got to yourself that you could take that leap of faith in yourself to where you're walking away from a W-2 paycheck and your family and 9 kids are still cared for.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think I didn't die working all that hard labor. So, I mean, I could lose everything today and I'll go shovel horse shit. I don't care. I'm already shoveling animal shit every day as it is now anyway with the animals I've got here. Right. But I'll go do it and get paid for it rather than doing it with my own animals. I don't care. I'm like, there's not a job that's beneath me, right?
Sure.
So I knew that Rugged Legacy was doing well, paying bills, and but it's retail, it's e-commerce,
right?
And so it's seasonal. Something might work, something might not. Mm-hmm. So I had to say, screw it, double down a little bit and get into the whole writing side of things versus just relying on the e-com. So I did it, and I had something to fall back on. I had 2 sources of income there, and then push came to shove, I could have gone and got a job somewhere doing something.
Yeah, and I think that's important that you're willing to do whatever it takes to provide for your family, even if it's getting down and dirty, shoveling shit, like you say. And that's something that a lot of people in our modern world won't do. They want to have the cushy job with the 401k, and they want to make sure that they can drive a nice car and do all these things. And they live in debt up to their eyeballs trying to prove something to somebody else. For you, it really wasn't like that thing. I think it was more of an honor type of thing, that I'm the leader here. I need to provide for my family. In your book, to plug your book, The Perimeter, I love how you talk about honor cultures and how, especially in the South, where they're descended more from, Scots-Irish type of, herding cultures versus kind of the North, which is more English, German farming culture, and the difference in the honor culture there. So did some of that sense of honor kind of play into this throughout your life, and maybe talk a little bit about what that sort of stuff means?
It did not. It did not. I'm just hard-headed. That's all.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't play any big factor into it. It would be really awesome for me to be able to say it did, but no, it was just, if that's what it was, then it's not what I recognized as at the time. I'm a hard-headed dude from the South.
Yeah. Well, I think that's some of it too. Just you're a hard-headed dude, and put your family on your back and go forward.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, we mentioned you founded, Rugged Legacy Grooming Products, men's, beard balms, beard oils, hair pomade, which you see in my hair and beard right now. And, I've been happy to, and lucky enough to help you with some of that. And you might see my mug on some of the Instagram posts and things for Rugged Legacy. But what made you want to get into men's grooming supplies?
I don't know, man. All the Googling that I did was like, the best business to start is for a market you're already a part of. I always had a beard, always had long hair or long-ish hair. So why not? Right. And I could never find products I liked, you know, go to Walmart or Target or whatever, the big box stores, everything smells horrible or it doesn't work or it leaves you itchy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started going to, the wholesale places here because I Googled some recipes like how to make your own beard balm.
Yeah.
And then I just started experimenting with that until I found one that worked. And then someone at my job said, "That smells really good, man. What is that?" I was like, "Oh, I made it." He was like, "Dude, I'd buy that." And there you go. That was it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Rugged, the stuff, I mean, I endorse it wholeheartedly and some because obviously just because you're my friend and I want to support my friend's business, but also because it's the best stuff I've used. And I'm picky about my hair and beard stuff. You watched me a couple months ago go through my morning routine. So you know what what this looks like in the morning and what your products make it look like. But what is it that makes them so much better than all these other things? So you're seeing some of these even smaller companies blow up, the razor company that blew up a while ago, and like Duke Cannon's blown up, and Harry's and all these other companies like that have blown up, but they aren't as good as the small company that you created. So what is it about Rugged Legacy that makes it so much better than everything else?
I've had a lot of people ask me that question, and every time they ask me, I'm like, really? We just give a crap about what we make. I mean, I'm pretty sure other companies do too. I can't turn around and say they don't.
All right.
But we just give a crap about what we make, you know. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what contributes to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Yeah. I mean, I love the products and love using them and I recommend them to everybody. And like I said, I've been lucky enough to work with you a little bit and, you see my mug in some of these pictures and I'm happy to endorse it anytime. And I love it. And that fact that hearing your story and what you came through and what you turned this into from just a need for some extra income, and turned it into something that's sustainable and that's, automated a lot of it too, that you've really turned it from, like you say, doing it at the kitchen table to turning it into a full-fledged business.
Yeah.
You have an online course that's been very popular called Quick Start Side Hustle, which kind of helps people do exactly what you did, to find a side hustle, to find a side gig, to make some extra income. So you're not so dependent on just a W-2 income. Talk about why that's so important to have a side hustle and what people can do to quick start their own side hustle.
Well, I mean, we saw how people reacted to something like COVID. I got fired. Wear this mask or get fired. We saw people get laid off because they refused the vaccine. We saw people get laid off because they had medical conditions where they were not allowed to get the vaccine and the company still required it, so they let them go anyway.
Yeah.
And then you had just the principle of being told what to do by big daddy government. My mama couldn't even tell me what to do, right? I mean, pretty sure I got beaten a lot just as as proof of that.
Yeah.
But how replaceable are you at your job? Because if your job can save a buck, they'll get rid of you. You're just a number. So even I don't advocate for anybody to quit their job. No, you need a job, right? If it's putting food on the table, keep doing it. That's why I worked at my job for 2 years after Rugged Legacy was, working out. I only left it because they let me go, right? But you don't put all your hens in one basket or all your chicks in one basket, right? You gotta have an extra backup plan just in case. Because if you lose your job today, but you have a side hustle generating a couple of $100s a week, now that might not replace your entire income, but you've got something there, right? You could scale that up to where it's matched your income. But if you say you love your job, stay at that job. I don't care if you stay at that job till you're 67 and retire. If that's what you want to do and you like it, but there's nothing wrong with having extra money. Now you can take that vacation with your family. You can cover that emergency expense. Shoot, you could use it all of the revenue or income coming from it just for investing, whatever.
Mm.
But if you're relying only on one source of income, it's just one day where a guy goes, yeah, we're closing the doors, or we're going to cut back to save money and we're letting a lot of you go. Then what do? At least you have, like I said, even if it's only half of your normal income, you still have something there.
Mm.
That's why it's important to me, because I started thinking about, what if I didn't have a business? I would have been right back where I started, and I would have been going down that hill, frantic, freaking out, like, all right, I got to make something happen.
Yeah. So how can, if somebody listening to this, they're like, yeah, that sounds great, I need to do that. I need to make, just maybe an extra couple $100 a month, just for fun money, even if it's, not a safety net, but just for, hey, I just like to have a couple $100 extra bucks a month. What do they do to get started? How, not everybody can start maybe they're not able to start a men's grooming supply product in their kitchen. Everybody can't do everything. How do they find what their thing is? You found your thing with the men's grooming supply. How does somebody find their thing to start the side hustle?
You just try. I throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Just like with writing, I feel like now, I think I was born to be a writer, because that's what I do every single day, and I love it and I enjoy it. But I tried drop shipping. That didn't work. I like teaching people how to make money online, so the coaching thing works. But you have people that jump in, they want to try their hand at photography. Okay, well, they can make a couple of extra $100 shooting graduations or quinceañeras or weddings or whatever. You have people that love they're good at web design. There's 1,000 entrepreneurs online right now that want a better website.
Yeah.
You get good at, SEO or content creation, video editing. You see every influencer creator wants to put, videos on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Well, if you're good at editing videos, there you go. Start reaching out and offering your service, just whatever you have an inclination towards. Because, like, I've had people like, hey, I want to be a freelance writer, but I hate writing. Well, then you're probably not going to make it as a freelance writer. Yeah, you should. What do you enjoy? Well, I enjoy, I enjoy drawing. I'm like, well, get into graphic design, right? Don't don't do something that you're going to hate. Just figure out what you like, find a gap in the market. And here's the thing: there's 1,000 different brands of bottled water. There's 1,000 different brands of coffee. Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean you can't do it too.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if someone else is doing it and they're making money from it, it's probably a safe bet for you to do it too and make money, because they don't have the entire market to themselves.
Yeah. So the most important thing is to quit thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah, just do something. My kids make money freaking, like, one of my sons makes money moderating live streams for an Instagram influencer. Another one of my kids, he's like, you know what? I'm going to host a couple of car washes this summer, make a little extra money. Another kid, one kid's making money right now, probably in there playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
You can make all kinds of money. You can make it doing anything. The internet made it easy.
Right.
There's a lot of people try to complicate it and overthink it. And they go, well, what about taxes? What about them? Don't worry about paying taxes until you're making enough money to have taxes.
Yeah.
I think I made 6 figures before I had an LLC. I was just lumping it into personal income and filing 1099. Talk to the guy at H&R Block. He'll help you with your taxes, right? You don't have to figure that out. But
yeah, I think that's something a lot of people feel like they have to have everything perfect before they start. They have to have, they have to have a perfect logo. They have to have a perfect web design. They have to have, an LLC set up. They have to have all this sort of things. And I think the people that are most successful are ones that just dive in and figure that stuff out along the way. That seems to be what you did with both both your businesses. I know that's what I did with my writing and my coaching. I didn't have all those things set up. I'm just like, you know what? There's a need here. I'm going to supply that need, and I'll figure that shit out as I go along. And
Exactly.
it's paid off. The hard work is paid off. Yeah, I failed at a couple things too. I tried a couple different things, drop shipping and stuff like that too. And then all of a sudden, the place that I wasn't looking at all was addiction coaching, and that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I think God provided me with that plan and that place to do that, and said, "Hey, this is your mission. Go for it." And I went for it, and He blessed it, and it's been an amazing thing for me. But yeah, I think so many people get to that.
You suffered the same thing that you're helping other people get out of.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like, everybody has something. Like, the easiest thing to monetize is your lifestyle. If you go to the gym 7 days a week, you could probably make some. Well, if you're in shape, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
if you go to the gym 7 days a week, but you don't look like you go to the gym 7 times in a year, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
But you can monetize your lifestyle. If you're in shape, help other people get in shape. If you're jacked, help other people get jacked. If you've got your nutrition dialed in, help other people with their nutrition. If you're good at web design, let's say you don't want to be chasing web design clients. Well, you can teach other people web design.
Yeah.
It's what you do, things you do every day. I mean, how many people out there who are just parents write parenting books?
Yeah.
Your lifestyle, everybody has something.
Yeah, you don't have to be what society classifies as an expert. You don't have to have a college education to help people.
No, I dropped out of college because I was failing.
Yeah. I bury people for a living. That's what I went to school for. I don't have degrees after my last name. I'm not a clinical social worker or a counselor or a therapist. I've just been through some crap, and now I'm turning around and helping other people through that same crap. And so, people get so stuck, I think, in this, that analysis paralysis type of thing, that they never actually take a step forward and do it.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? Just,
Yeah.
so what if it doesn't work out? Okay, then you're no worse off than you were before. Right. I mean, I started my business with a $200 Chromebook, and I think it was like a $30 label printer, and maybe a couple of $100 worth of raw materials. Didn't make or break me.
Yeah.
Right. So if it failed, I wasn't going to be any worse off.
Right. And that's the beauty of modern commerce, especially e-commerce. You don't have to invest a couple $100,000 into a property and another $100,000 into manufacturing equipment and then all this sort of stuff to open a store and pay staff and do anything of that. You can literally start something on your kitchen table and make it profitable.
Yeah. Right. Are you good with numbers? You good with finances? Help people with their books, their accounting.
Yeah. Exactly.
You don't even have to be a CPA to help someone with their books.
Right.
As long as you've got a little disclaimer on your landing page, or what, like, hey, I don't know how to do, I want to do my own bookkeeping. Well, I can teach you how. Bam. Now they're doing it themselves. You just showed them what to do. You didn't have to go in and manage their finances. You're not violating any CPA code or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what you do is you help people with writing and copywriting and things like that. Why is it important to have good writing? Because I think a lot of people, I can write the content for my website myself, or I can write my tweets myself, or I can, writing a book's not that hard. You just got to write it, So what is it about that, what you do that makes it so much better, and why do you do that?
I think most people don't realize what good writing is, because I know I didn't start off as a good writer. I've been writing every single day for 4 years to get to be a good writer, right? And I'm still learning new things every single day. No two things I write are ever written with the same style or the same voice. So I do ghostwrite books for people. I do write content for people online. I write their video scripts. But you see these people that are good public speakers. Well, they're a good public speaker because they had a good speech written.
Mm.
You know, they you see these people that are really good at conveying ideas to other people, because like everything is sales. And you know, even when you're not in business, you're selling ideas to your wife, you're selling ideas to your coworkers or to your boss or to your kids. You're selling. And if you can learn how to sell with writing, there's no way you'll ever be without money.
Mm.
You know, but I think what makes me as good as I am at it is I wasn't afraid to suck at it for a little while. You know, most people are like, well, it's going to be a long time before I get good. Well, yeah, well, that was the case for every single person. Michelangelo didn't do the Sistine Chapel when he was 5. Kid was finger painting with boogers probably before he even picked up a paintbrush. So he started somewhere. There's no master or expert, and I'm certainly not a master. I don't even think I'm an expert, but you know, I mean, there's no one out there who's great at what they do that didn't start off sucking at what they do.
Right.
It's just like your first day on the job. You had to get on the job training and get really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are they're afraid of sucking at something, so they just don't start it. You know,
Yeah, they just want
they
to,
only
you
want
know,
to do
they
things
want the
that
baby
they'll
without the
be
labor pains.
exactly. Yeah, they want to just be immediately successful at something instead of working hard to attain it and become proficient at it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeff, I want to switch gears here a little bit. I've enjoyed both of your books that you released, Empire Divided and The Perimeter. I just finished reading The Perimeter here the other day. You know, in the Empire Divided, you know, you talk about a modern man's path back to his tribe. You know, we talk a lot about tribe nowadays and kind of this men's world that kind of we're a part of, and especially within you and I and the fraternity of excellence and the importance of that male brotherhood. But what is the book's called Empire Divided? What is the empire, and how and why is it divided?
Well, you'll see, and if you guys listening uh, pick up the book, it's available on Amazon. I'm pretty sure Tim will have links.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I borrowed the term, but also credited him from Jack Donovan. Right, I
Okay.
talk about Jack a few times
Yeah.
in the book, but in his book series, it was the Way of Men,
Way of Men. Yeah.
Becoming a Barbarian, and A More Complete Beast. In those three, um, he talks about the empire of nothing.
Hmm.
And I think the best way to describe what the empire of nothing is, it's just modern society where you've got this hedonistic and nihilistic cycle. Just everybody's wanting to indulge all the time. Nothing has meaning, right? Everything is disposable and automatic, and the only thing that means anything is if something is offensive to someone, but then you can't categorize that because everything's offensive to someone now. And the division is, I mean, were you alive between the years of 2016 and 2020? Because that was a wild time,
Yeah.
right? That was a wild time. Uh, Now everyone's at each other's throat. You know, the problem is, if you think about it in terms, and I talk about this in the book too, America may have started off as a tribe, and the world, as it were an amalgamation of different tribes, all separated geographically. Well,
Yeah.
America became the melting pot, right? Even though we were just a bunch of ragtag guys rolling over here from Europe, compared to the scale we're at now, it was relatively small,
Sure.
right? I mean, what would you? I mean, I haven't done the math or the research on. I would say a couple of 100,000, nowhere near 1,000,000 people. You know,
In the colonial times, probably not. No. No.
yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You know, when you had
Yeah.
the 13 original colonies, I would say a couple of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe close to 1,000,000. Who knows?
Yeah.
But still, communities govern themselves. And if you didn't adhere or assimilate to that community, you were ostracized or worse, right? And then when every state was governing themselves, even though they were under the umbrella of Britain, they still handled everything kind of their own way. They had their own code of the way people acted, and you pretty much had to share the same basic values, or again, you were ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
But then America became the melting pot where we had to have all these other tribes coming over here because they were escaping some other persecution, which more power to them, right? I don't want to be persecuted either. But then everybody gets here and you start to get assimilation, which I think assimilation is terrible sometimes, especially if it's just assimilation for the sake of assimilation, because you bury who you really are and you bury your ancestors. But everybody gets here and then everybody's expected to share the same values, but some people just aren't built that way to share those same values as you. You really saw that between people in southern states and northern states, and one of those values was slavery. And
Mm-hmm.
I might have been born in the South and I might have had ancestors that fought on both sides of the line, but I'm not of the mind that slavery was ever a good idea.
Right.
Right. It was
Yeah.
probably it's right up there with like the worst things, you know, like kicking babies is the only thing that's worse, I think. But it could be tied. I don't know. But you had everybody trying to force their values on each
Mm-hmm.
other, and no one can agree on anything because we're too big to agree on anything. Like even when you and I and the rest of the guys were out in North Carolina up in the mountains, there was 30 of us. Even then, we broke off into smaller groups
Right.
because smaller groups are better at self-regulation than larger groups. And it's even worse when you take all these large groups and tell them that they are regulated by some anonymous entity way out here in whatever government agency, or government branch, president, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people who are making laws in DC have a damn clue about my lifestyle
Right.
and what is required for me to do this and that. But they pass laws on a general basis. Well, yeah, and there are some laws that can be passed generally. You know, don't murder people. That's kind of a generalized rule that should be widely accepted. But overall, when it comes to the micro aspects of people's values, Protestants can't get along with Catholics. So you really think, what do we have here? Like 360 million people in the U.S.
Yeah. Something like that.
Do you really think all these people from all these different backgrounds and all these different upbringings can come together and agree on
Mm-hmm.
one thing? No, we can't. And the
Yeah.
expectation that we could is false.
But
But that's not a
that's
bad thing.
right. But that's what it seems like the modern world, especially in the realm of politics and things like that, is trying to do. They think like it's a bad thing for there to be perimeters, like you say, and there's a dividing line between us and them. And when you talk about tribalism and having a tribe, they automatically assume nationalism, racism, like that it's, a bad thing, but what is it like to have a real tribe, and why is that a good thing for us to have those differences and to have those clear boundaries between us and other tribes?
No one can thrive in any environment filled with other people if everyone is pulling in opposite directions.
Mm.
So while I don't believe in dividing by race or dividing even by faith, I'm more than okay with dividing us up based on values. Right. There's just some things I'm never going to be able to draw the line. I'm never going to be able to compromise on as far as my values. Right. And if there's somebody in some other state or maybe even down the street here that disagrees with me vehemently, and they're as vehement as I am on the other side of that issue, me and that guy probably can't work together, at least on something that would, revolve around that particular issue, we're probably going to kill each other because push will come to shove. And that's what you see. People pissed off and separated. People cut their family members off over a damn mask and a vaccine.
Yeah.
You know, people cut their families off about, BLM or Antifa or Trump, MAGA, whatever. You know what? I've gotten to the point where I don't even consider myself an American. I'm a Putnam. My family is who I worry about.
Mm.
I just live here. I've got zero illusions of patriotism or loyalty to a bunch of people that disagree with me on such issues that they would rather me die and starve to death just because I disagree with them. I've got no desire to defend them, which is probably odd coming from someone who served in the army, right? But even then, there was a couple of assholes in my unit where I'm like, you know what? I probably wouldn't mind it if he stepped on a mine. You know, I know it's
Yeah.
harsh to say, but that's human nature,
Yeah.
right? You high school shows, people tend to go towards other people with similar interests, similar values. You get your cliques, whether it's your band geeks or your jocks or your whatevers, right? Get the goth kids sitting over here in the
Yeah.
balconies eating bats. Everyone does their own thing and gravitates to other people, but they act like that's bad when it's just human. It's not good or bad. It's just human.
Yeah. I
And
think,
when we try to fight against just what's human, all you're going to get is pushback from every single side because you've got people on the political far left that will say, I will never, ever compromise on anything with people on the right. And then you've got people on the right who say the exact same thing about people on the left. But you're going to force them into a room together and say, get along. Like when your mom and you and your brother fought, your mom made you wear the same shirt, the get
yeah.
along shirt, your right arm and his left sticking out. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Let people separate themselves and segregate themselves. I don't want to be around people that hate me and everything I stand for. Just let me go live, with whoever that kind of have the same values. There might be people on this street that don't have the same values as me, but they don't come in my yard, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
But it's the more of the idea that everyone needs to get along and everyone needs to agree and one side is right and one side is wrong. And that's what I've talked about in the perimeter. Everybody thinks they're objectively right, but they're subjectively right. What's good for me and my people, I think is good. And by my people, I mean my family. If it benefits me and my family and it's going to keep us thriving, I'm okay with it not being good for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be uh, the most popular thing to say,
Yeah.
but it just is, right? And I mean, look, I'm not going to sacrifice my family, their well-being for someone across the street neighborhood, much less for another country. People talk about the whole Russia Ukraine thing. I'm like, unless I'm buying Ukraine, I don't want my tax dollars going over there because I don't know anybody in Ukraine. Right? I mean, if I'm going to buy a Ukrainian, cool, we can do that, but I'm not. Those people are not my problem. The people in my house are my problem, and the people that I've made friends with in this neighborhood where I'm giving them free eggs and they're helping me with whatever. We've built up a community here. These people are my problem. Somebody I've never met 6,000 miles away is not my problem. And I don't have the bandwidth to worry about them.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how you say it's human nature to want to be a part of a tribe, because as much as the world hates it and they say that tribe, having a tribe is bad and we don't exclude anyone and everybody's welcome, and if you try to create these boundaries, that's racist, and that's all these sort of things, but yet you see the human nature come out through people's actions. People are looking for somewhere to belong.
Yeah.
And you see that come out in ways now. They're looking for a group to belong, and they feel like they don't have anywhere to belong, so they create one. And I think that's what you see in a lot of these instances of kids coming out, as the whole trans thing that's happened over the last couple of years. And that's a whole nother topic that we don't need to get into. But my point with that is that you come out of something like that, you immediately have a group that you belong to. You immediately have a
Right.
group that has an identity. And I don't mean identity as in like gender stuff. I mean, we, not just an I, and I think
Yeah, a
that's what people
personal
are looking
identity.
for. Right. People are looking for that place to belong. So I think that's human nature. And even though they may not think they're doing that or think they want to do that or think that's bad, deep down that human nature comes out where they're seeking for that place to belong, that tribe.
Yeah, it just happens by default. People on the left who go, well, I hate nationalism. Well, they just built a tribe of people who all collectively hate nationalism. Great. Now you've got your own over there.
Yeah.
And you've built a perimeter around people who love nationalism. Okay, so you just you're like, oh, I hate tribalism. So, well, now you're a tribe of people who hate tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you've all done the same things. It's just,
Yeah.
it happens. It's a dynamic that can't be avoided.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think we have different layers of tribes. Like you mentioned, your family, your neighborhood, your community, your state. There's different layers of it. One of the tribes that we have together jointly, because you and I live, 1,000 miles apart, is the Fraternity of Excellence. And I think that tribe gives us a place to belong, gives us a place to push ourselves to become better, to become great, to become men of excellence. And there's a quote in your book that I really, really like, and it stuck with me. And what you said was, the world has taken away opportunities to become great. You don't really have to be all that brave to go to work, the grocery store, or just be outside and throw steaks on the grill. So modern life doesn't really require that much courage and bravery from us. But that's something men need. They need to be pushed out of their comfort zone. They need to take on things that are scary. They need to do something beyond themselves, something they may not think that they're capable of doing. So, there aren't opportunities for men to show themselves that they can be great. So what are ways that men can show real courage today?
I recently worked on a project with a good friend of ours. He's putting together a book about the modern Christian man.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about that is the modern Christian man, as a stereotype, is a very weak man.
Oh, 100%.
And people don't like it. People don't like hearing that.
No.
I once did a podcast with another mutual friend of ours. It was called "Giving Christianity Back Its Balls."
I like that.
Right? Because yeah, that one got a lot of attention. But men are weak. When's the last time you stood up for yourself outside of just being belligerent?
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you stood on something you believe? If you are, and this goes for the Christian faith as well, the Christian faith says you do this and this to abide by these laws of the tenets of faith, right? You have clergy, and I'm not a Christian, right? I might be getting there. I don't know, but that's a whole different conversation. But you change yourself to adhere to the tenets of a faith, to follow that faith. What you do have now are what should be respected clergy saying the tenets of the faith, which is thousands of years old, should change for a new for a new societal temperature. No, like if you don't do these, if I don't do certain things or follow certain rules, then I'm just bad at what I'm doing, right? So if I was trying to be a Christian, but I was living in every possible example of a life against what Christian teachings are, well, then I'm either not a Christian or I'm a very bad one, right?
Right.
If the faith says this, then you change you to adhere to the faith. You don't demand that society soften up or that the faith soften up to allow what society's doing. But you see that happening with clergy. You see that happening with people of the church. You see that people happening with every denomination, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, my wife's Catholic, um, and I'm not. But it takes courage to just stand up and say what you believe. You think it didn't take me courage to, you know what? Fire me. I'm not doing it.
Right.
It's 100 degrees in here, and I'm not going to put that freaking mask on and work for 12 hours in 100-degree heat. No, fire me. It could have gone either way. Obviously, it didn't go my way, but I don't have any regrets now. But how courageous is it for a man to walk up to his son and say, "I'm sorry, I screwed up."
Mm.
That's courage. You make a mistake, you want your kid to think you're Superman. Well, then your kid's going to go through life covering up his mistakes because he wants people to think he's Superman. But it takes a lot of courage to admit to your kid who looks up to you that you screwed up. Hey, I was wrong about this, buddy. Hey, I shouldn't have done this. Hey, I shouldn't have punched that wall when I was mad at the football game. That's not what men do. But don't do that. That's courage. There's tiny opportunities in every man's life that give them the opportunity to be courageous. You got people online talking about, oh, don't get married because marriage bad. Every marriage is bad. Well, it takes courage to go against that vocal grain and say, no, I'm going to get married. I love this woman. I'm going to make her my wife. You've got guys that want to marry a woman that has a couple of kids because he loves her and he's fallen in love with those kids as well. But what about the stigma against single moms? Really? You don't have the balls to say, no, I love her and I want to make these kids mine. I want to give these kids a father. Because it's kind of ironic that people talk about fatherless homes are an epidemic, but then don't think the kids of single moms deserve fathers. So it's kind of hypocritical there.
Exactly.
Just standing up for what you believe in, pushing yourself to be better, not giving into your excuses. Every day there's opportunities for you to show courage, for you to show a little bit of grit, to take a word from our friend. You know, I'm a fat piece of crap. Okay, well, have the courage to be honest with yourself that you're a fat piece of crap and go get your ass in the gym, fix your diet. Say the things that you've been meaning to say. Stop hiding, worrying that someone else is going to take offense to it. I'm not saying be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. But don't cower just because you're worried about someone else.
Hmm.
Don't hide your imperfections because it's a teaching moment for your kids. Don't be afraid to be who you are, or don't try to be someone you're not just because it's in vogue. That's courage. I think the single mom working two jobs and keeping food on the table and keeping her kids in school, I think that's courageous. I think that's nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
But people get it twisted thinking courage and bravery, like I need to go Mad Max and fight, raiding marauders on the street. No, because that's not the kind of courage you need most. You need the courage to just be a man, be who you are, say what you're going to say, stand on what you believe in. And then if you lose people because you say you believe in it, then fine. But don't compromise on what you believe in just to keep someone else around.
Yeah.
That's courage.
Well, Jeff, this has been a great conversation. At the end of every podcast that I do, I give my guests an opportunity to speak directly to my listeners. So if you have a minute or two here, what is your message to someone who's listening to this, who's maybe resonated with some of the things we've talked about today? What is your message to them?
Every single thing that you're afraid of, it's all in your head. I was afraid of failing. Well, because I was afraid of failing, I didn't try. You know what? I still struggle with fears of reverting back and losing everything that I've worked to build. And part of me wants to go and get a 9 to 5 that's safe and secure. but I can do that later if something bad happens. I'm not going to let that fear drive me. So your limitations, your fears, all of those things are self-imposed. I didn't think I had it in me to make it through what I did because I'd never been tested like that before. And you know what? I surprised myself. And you might surprise yourself too when you get tested. But you're never going to know what you're made of until you do get tested, or you live a life where those tests are coming at you. So if you want to know who you are, don't just survive, go live.
Great. Jeff, this has been an awesome interview, an awesome podcast. I appreciate you coming on. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you do?
The easiest place to find every single thing about me would be jeffputnamauthor.com. It's got all the links to my socials, all of my books, products, everything.
Great. Jeff, my good friend, appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed it.
This has been an episode of the Into the Wilderness podcast. This is Timothy Regal. Thank you for listening. For additional content and to learn more about Into the Wilderness, visit www.intothewildernessblog.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and all other social media at Timothy Regal. TimothyReigle. If you're like me and many other men, you've struggled with porn. I was addicted for over 15 years and thought I would never break free. But through accountability, hard work, and never giving up, I found freedom from porn and sex addiction. If you're fighting the same battle, know there is hope. You can defeat this, but you cannot do it alone. That's why I offer one-on-one coaching to walk beside you in your battle. I'll provide personal guidance, support, and encouragement, and most importantly, accountability to keep you on track and help you reach your goals. So if you're ready to finally quit porn for good, if you're ready to put in the hard work, and if you're ready to finally take control of your life back, click on the link in the show notes to go to www.intothewildernessblog.com or DM me on Twitter or other social media to get started in your path to freedom today.